Okay, sorry about that. I've kind of messed it up again, of course. That was deliberate. I don't know why it was there. Do you know, I think I forgot to share the audio. And
Yeah,
and I've also got a double thing going on as well.
yeah.
Honestly. Okay, let me just start that again because that was silly. Oh, and it's Lucky actually that's got the double thingy. Lucky.
Lucky Jesus.
It's okay. That's okay. That's okay. We're not worried. We're not worried. I'm gonna just do this. This time I'm gonna do it properly because I do like Geo Sam's intro. Lucky, are you there, mate?
Lucky, mute yourself.
It's all right. We can do that for him. We
There
can
you
do
go.
that for
Okay,
him.
yeah.
There we go.
Cool.
Okay, so share audio. That's the way you do it.
Gets me weird.
Share
There it
screen,
goes.
and away we go.
Go.
And welcome everybody to the Formula One 2022 World Championship, Japanese round 18 in Japan Suzuka Circuit. Wow, so happy to be back. Just to, oh, he's gone again. It's because he didn't know we had to mute him, but that's okay. Yeah, just to say, if anybody out there, I don't know if you're out there, if you're watching, but I will just say this. Did you spot the deliberate mistake at the beginning of the show? If you did, and I'm not sure you did, but if you did, write it in the chat. And if it's anything to do with Simon being an idiot, you're going to get a prize.
It
Okay.
was really subtle.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, let me just write this. I'm just going to write a quick note to Lucky. Sorry you had... Oh, he's back. Great. I don't have to do that. Fantastic. I'll wait for him to just do his camera. When you're ready, I'll put you into the thing. There we go. Anyway, we were at Suzuka. Fabio, did you know that?
Yes.
You did. Okay, well done. Well done.
I knew that for a lot of reasons. First one,
Yeah.
I had to wake at an ungodly hour. And second, it was raining. So, yeah, of course.
Yes,
Suzuka.
there we go.
There you go.
Okay. I'm going to add you in, Lucky. Your camera seems to be okay now. Welcome, Geo Sam. Welcome, Geo Sam. Thank you for that awesome intro, as always. Okay. So just to say, here we go. Let me just do this. Just to say here, I'm going to do the race review fairly soon.
Yes.
Fabio, there was a lot going on this weekend. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes. You're talking about, I don't know what you're talking about.
You guessed it.
The budget cap.
The budget cap. Yes, so we were all on bated breath waiting for the result of the FIA investigation into the budget cap.
Yes.
And needless to say, we found one, right? They did.
It was astonishing. Who would have known? Actually, well, we talk about it. But there was a conspiracy theory which I thought was way better than whatever the fuck they turned out to be, because that was brilliant, you know. But yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Okay, yeah, we of course will be covering that. So just to say, don't want to clickbait anybody, but we will be covering the entire ins and outs, and we actually have an inside link into some very juicy bits and pieces. But first, onwards with the show. Thank you, Geo Sam. Geo Sam's here. Yeah, and just giving away all my secrets today. No, we don't go. No, we don't go. Right, sorry about that. Everything's a bit rushed. I don't know why. Is it because we joined 1 minute before we went live? That might be it. I think we were a little rushed. You're still getting double audio? You are a little. I don't know why though.
Who is?
A little bit, Lucky.
Is he?
It's really not noticeable though, so I think it's fine. Okay. Okay. Onwards anyway. Japanese 2022 Grand Prix. Pole position taken by Max Verstappen. Second place, Charles Leclerc, set up for an epic race. Epic race we were expecting. Um, and then second and fourth and all of that. A couple of serious mentions, I feel, that did really well. Sebastian Vettel, basically, in qualifying. What a lap. We were like following him around the circuit when he was doing it. Every single corner, max to just superbly well, driving like a true 4 times world champion that he is. I'm so happy for the lad. He loves it around here. He said he'd like to come back and race here anytime, and I hope he actually gets the chance. Anyway, onwards with the race, and it was a quick one. It got away in terrible conditions, really. They should have started on wets. They didn't. They all started on intermediates, but they should really have started on wets. Clearly, it was the track was very wet, and of course, as we know at Japan, there's lots of standing water or trickling rivers, as they call them, across the track, which means the track does take rather a long time to dry out. Why the teams decided to go this way? Well, Lewis Hamilton had a few ideas about it, which again we will get into at the analysis of the race. So into the first corner, a great start by Charles Leclerc, managed to get alongside, had to brake early into the first corner. Not sure why exactly. Again, I feel a little disappointed. He could have actually pushed the point there and pushed Max wide, and probably done himself a few favours. But again, not really worth it, I guess, at this point in the championship when it's done and dusted. So there you go. Anyway, Max drove around the outside brilliantly and managed to get away. This made Charles have to drop back with the spray, etc. And that was pretty much race done. Or at least we thought it was going to be race done, but no. There were many collisions and crashes on the first lap. Vettel into Alonso, spinning in the first corner, dropping what was a great qualifying and session for Vettel back to 16th place. Then there was a spin by Sainz, and of course he hit a barrier that put him out of the race. There was another spin by Zhou Zhuzhou. Just to say also that the spin by Sainz, he crashed into a barrier, the barrier came back, and the barrier was picked up by Gasly, who then obviously had to pit. There was a Zhou of Span as well coming out of the hairpin. Sort of said, "Oh, yeah, you shouldn't be talking to me in the middle of a corner like that." Having some race communications with his race pits. Then Span brilliantly got it back to background again, and also Alex Albon finding out that his Williams engine, the Mercedes, got stuck in gear or had some kind of gear issue, hydraulics presumably, and basically wouldn't shift gear, so he had to pull off by the side of the track almost straight away. Again, brilliant start as well, I got to say, from Vettel, and disappointing. Started ninth, as I say, with a good qualifying, and unfortunately drove into the side of Alonso. Again, conditions were terrible. They would have been terrible anyway, but at least cars would have had some kind of grip off the racing line, or at least on the grass, as some of them ended up on. But no. Gasly then pitted at the end of that lap. Obviously, yellow flags out for the crashes. Gasly pitted, changed his nose, came back out again, tried to catch up with the safety car, and this led to the most controversial incident, which is in trying to clean up Sainz's car. They'd put a tractor out onto the circuit, and this very reminiscent of 2014 with Bianchi's tragic death, where Biaggi went off on under a yellow under yellow flag or virtual race car conditions, and spun and crashed into a tractor on track, and unfortunately, tragically passed away from that crash. Since then, the rules were seriously tightened up, but obviously not in Suzuka, as there was yet again another tractor trying to remove a car on circuit when there were cars going by. exceptional circumstances, no doubt, because of the fact that the car, Gasly had also then pitted and changed his nose, come out and was trying to catch back up to the snake. But nonetheless, still shouldn't have happened, of course. There are, in fact, regulations for the marshals, etc., and to not be out on circuit. But obviously, whatever communication problems or problems that we haven't been at Suzuka for some time and their marshals are a little rusty perhaps, and there we go. All of the drivers complained, and we will yet to see what happens to Suzuka, what penalties Suzuka's going to have to pay, what marshalling and rules will need to be tightened up to ensure this does not happen again. Obviously, we were lucky, and there were again terrible conditions. On the onboard footage of Gasly going past the tractor, you cannot see the tractor. All you can see is the lights. So if he had have lost his car just going into that sector, then there could have been, could have been really crucial. Very devastating conditions, as I say. Anyway, that was the first part of the race underway. And again, why they started or were allowed to start on intermediates, and it's anybody's guess, really. I mean, yeah, tactically the right move to make, but certainly much more dangerous. And given that there was still rain moving in, it was a bad decision. Still, another thing that needs to be looked at, race conditions when these cars are safe racing, etc. Okay, moving on. So that then caused a red flag. The red flag lasted well over an hour, probably an hour 20 or so, hour 10, something like that. As heavy rain then moved in, and they deemed it too dangerous to get going again. Again, Suzuka known for this, right? So why they're suddenly making a big fuss out of it, and it's all a dramatic thing at the last moment, I have no idea. However, they were then with some 40 minutes to go, decided to try to restart the race, this time under a rolling start conditions. Should have been like this at the beginning of the race. And of course, under rolling start conditions, they all have to put on the extreme wets. So that's what happened. And of course, Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez away in that order. Verstappen, with a clear track in front of him, literally just drove away from the field. I mean, he's the class. He has the class car this year, clearly, and he's the class driver this year, clearly, and again demonstrated his superb driving skills. Several people, of course, then pitted straight away for intermediates, including Vettel and Latifi, and again, close action in the pits. Not the kind of thing we want to see. Vettel taking the top hand. Lap 8, Verstappen into the pits to change his tyres and get onto the much faster intermediate tyres. Despite the fact they double stacked at Red Bull, Perez in straight away, not losing any time, and also Mercedes did the same. But with Mercedes, Russell slowed down a little bit, almost coming to collision in the pit lane, but Russell reckoning he lost about 10 seconds due to the double stacking. Whether that's the case or not, I'm not sure. And given the slowness of the wet tyres, I'm not even sure he actually lost as much as 10 seconds. However, he was to complain about that over the radio and after the race, saying it was the worst decision Mercedes had made as a team this year. I seriously doubt that. I seriously doubt that that's the worst decision. But nonetheless, whatever. That's Russell being, I don't know, somewhat feisty, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, moving onwards, again, then Alonso, obviously, Alonso taking the race lead, Verstappen coming out and quickly overtaking when Alonso pitted. And it was to be like that. Leclerc also doing the same thing, following him in. A great stop for Leclerc. Leclerc Again, just showing the difference in cars here. This is what this race was about, difference in cars. With 30 minutes to go, Haas was having a big fight with Mercedes. Unusual, but there you go. And of course, the Mercedes getting the better of that. 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton making it look fairly easy against the rookies that are in the Haas. Also, Russell showing what a great racer he is by going around the outside in the S's to overtake Tsunoda. Again, Tsunoda, an expert in this track, one would think. Hamilton just showing that they haven't really set the Mercedes up properly, and it didn't have the top speed that it needed to overtake. He tried to get past Alonso several times, and in the end, just couldn't do so. Good racing though, and he certainly had moments where it looked like he might be able to, but never really did it. Then towards the end of the race, of course, Perez quickly caught up Leclerc, the pacey pastry, as his tyres started slicking up a little too much. Their intermediate tyres started losing their grip, and he was doing everything he could to hang on, driving superbly well to keep Perez behind him. Unfortunately, into the last chicane for the last lap, he locked up, went wide, and although he managed to keep Perez behind him, it was clearly done at an advantage of going off a track, and therefore he was awarded a penalty after the race, which meant Perez came second, I believe, and he was far enough ahead of Ocon, who was in fourth place. So Leclerc in the pacey pastry came third. A brave race. I mean, obviously it's too late in the year for anything to be settled by this, but it does show that there's something special about Max Verstappen or his car in particular over Perez. And obviously we at this stage of the championship believe that it's the car and that the car has been developed specifically for Verstappen and is very nose heavy. But again, in these conditions, you wouldn't expect that. So it's very strange. I think there may be something else to it than that. Maybe mechanical parts, maybe upgrades that haven't been bought or put on Perez's car that have been put on Verstappen's car. It would be my suspicion, especially due to the fact that that the FIA are reporting into the overspend of last year. One might think that they've not overspent this year deliberately, shall we say? Okay, so that was then the 3 hours were up, and so therefore they were awarded full points for this race, despite the fact they'd only just got over 50% of the laps done, and we were expecting 75% maybe of the laps done. 60. Yeah. We were expecting less points to be given this race. However, they decided to award full points, and this is hardly surprising, of course, bearing in mind that we're at Suzuka, and of course that circuit wants the championship to be decided as many times as possible at their circuit, and so to increase ticket sales is the theory. And so it was no surprise that they found a way to award Max Verstappen full points and thereby give him his second world championship and the championship of 2022 Formula One world champion Max Verstappen, the Dutchman extraordinaire, the Flying Dutchman, as we're now going to call him, if we may. Does that sound like a good name for him, Fabio?
Yeah. I mean, he drove a fantastic championship. He drove a fantastic race. Let me just, start from. So there is a thing you said. I think it was a mishap. You were talking about Hamilton trying to pass Alonso. It was actually Ocon. So Alonso
it was Ocon. I beg your pardon.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Alonso was battling with Vettel, and actually they got like neck to neck at the end. It was really exciting to see those guys racing. Really super quickly. Let's start from your last point. The full point awarded. It actually caught me by surprise.
Everybody, including Max Verstappen.
Yeah, because everybody thought, okay, it's there is now this year, and I'll get to that in a minute. There is like a scale of points awarded, so the three different section depending if you make below up to 50%, more than 75%, or less than whatever the fuck.
20, 25, 50, and 75.
Yeah, so we thought it would have fallen into the 50% and the points were less, but apparently, and it's true, the rule, it's really weird, but because of the fact that the race was raced up until the 3 hours time limit, it was considered a full race. This goes back to, and there is a nice tie-in in here. The rule was changed after last year in Spa, and they made that rule. The thing is that, as with everything which happens with the FIA, every time you make rules a little bit more complicated, they fuck it up more and more. So what they didn't took into consideration was the fact, what if the race has a restart, right? So that they didn't thought about it, and that's the reason why they made, I don't know, 25 laps, 26 stuff like that, not too much more than that, and they awarded full points. The funny tie-in is that the fastest lap of Suzuka was Zhu, and the fastest lap in Spa was from Mazepin. So I don't know. I mean, it's really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was really funny. No, I mean, of course, the first start was kind of mind-boggling in my opinion. They decided from a standing start of all the places and the time where a rolling start would have been advisable. That was Suzuka last Sunday. They decided for a rolling start. Everybody was on intermediate tires because they are so much more performing than the extreme wet.
Yeah.
So I mean, of course, everybody chose intermediate. The problem was that the visibility was really, really bad, like non-existent. Sainz spun at the first corner, and I think it was a miracle that nobody drove into the guy. So yeah, as I said, they stopped the race and then they resumed the race. In the meantime, the thing that you mentioned happened, which was Gasly going back and then rejoining the race and finding not one but two cranes on the track. They actually even Verstappen found two cranes while after the safety car, and that was to me, that is the worst thing which has ever happened this year in F1. I know that, we have been criticized, last year, management with Masi and stuff like that. I am starting to think, and I will put it here, this thing that I think that last year there was, that accident, with Masi. Everybody, and rightly so, they pointed the finger and stuff like that. I think that this year, if we sum all the problems that there have been, it's way worse than last year. Like massively worse.
Yeah.
And last Sunday might have been tragic. Gasly was furious about that. Gasly was a good friend of Jules Bianchi, which died 8 years ago on the same track. Jules Bianchi's father, Philippe Bianchi, made a post on Instagram, while that was happening, saying, this is unbelievable. The same track where my son, died 8 years ago, the same thing happens again. Gasly was furious, and they gave him 20-second penalty, which to me it's mind-boggling. And the reason is that because the word the red flags, it was supposed to be slowing down. Now the thing is that, first of all, when you see a red flag, it's not that you have to stop, right? You go slower, but you can't go slower all of a sudden, mostly because it's way more dangerous. first of all. And the second of all, it doesn't make any fucking difference, especially with these cars, with ground effect. You can start an aquaplaning at 90 kilometers an hour because that's the nature of the cars. So it would have been as dangerous. I mean, of course, going 300 kilometers an hour is more dangerous, but the problems are the same. So to me that was the thing which really boiled my blood. It was really bad. I mean, I can't even begin to describe what I felt at that time. I think that the first start they should have started with the safety car as they did in the second restart, so everybody would have gone on extreme wet, and all of that would not have happened. I mean, actually, Suzuka is a pretty good circuit as far as rain goes, because if it stops raining or if it's not that much of a rain, it dries up really quickly. It drains up really good, compared to, I mean, if you remember last race, the track wasn't
Didn't at all.
yeah,
Because of the humidity.
So,
I mean, it's not like that with the humidity. Of
yeah.
course, there are many rivers, and they take a lot longer. However, it's that, and that can be very dangerous, of course.
Right.
But it's not like Brazil again, which has rivers,
Oh, no.
which just take forever to stop, right? Because the drainage at Suzuka is pretty good.
And we could see, once the race restarted, when they went to Inters, about mostly everybody. I mean, Ferrari was, Leclerc. It was a little bit more serious because I think Leclerc fucked it up his tires at the beginning. Tried to catch it up with Verstappen, which made an astounding maneuver. Overtaking on the outside, really good. But everybody, they were really big. They really had big problems with intermediate tires. I mean that they're basically slick tires. Everybody but Red Bull, as I said. So that was the first two things. I spoke about before about the full points awarded, and that's something that I think that the FIA will have to change, because as things stands right now, the funny thing is that they might have done one lap and it would have given full points, if that one lap ended at the 3 hours race. So they have something to work out, about
sure.
that.
Christian Horner said that they would definitely be changing it.
Yeah.
Now, how he knows, I don't know, but it just goes to show you the power of the team managers still, the team owners.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a problem with team management. I mean, everybody saw that, and it's something. It is something which obviously needs to be addressed. The other thing which happened at the end of the race was that Leclerc was given 5 seconds penalty because he got second on the finish line, but he got demoted to third with a 5 seconds penalty. So a couple of things about that. I think that the penalty was reasonable. So if we think about the penalty, what happened and stuff like that, I don't think it was unreasonable, right? There are a couple of things which I feel they were wrong. So the first one was that on paper, the penalty was given for unfair advantage. I don't think there was an unfair advantage. I mean, when Leclerc got in front of Perez, was exactly the same distance as Perez was from Leclerc before the corner. So there was no unfair advantage. It was a little bit more getting back. Once he got back, he has less traction, and he kind of make an obstruction on Perez, slightly. But it wasn't as bad, as the one that everybody claimed that Vettel did on Lewis in Australia. But still, I can see that.
Yeah.
And the rationale is mostly because of the fact it was the last lap. So, would say, I mean, if you have to defend a position at the last lap, you do that. Because, if you go straight on an S like that, Usually you get a warning the first time it happens, but I think it was because of the fact it was the last lap and stuff. So I'm not saying it's unreasonable, right?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
I'm saying is that the reason I don't think it matched the situation,
I agree.
because I don't think there was an unfair advantage.
Uh,
The other thing, and this is where I'm gonna really, this is the part which really pisses me off. They made that decision in like, I don't know, 2 minutes, which it's cool, right? Because we've complained about the fact that it took them 2 hours with Perez last race. Now,
Yep.
I've got the rules of the F1 here. I can't prepare. So here they are.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now there is a rule here which basically says that. Let me read it out because it's really interesting. So basically, there is a rule which says if it rains and Perez is involved, rain is an excuse. If Leclerc is involved, rain is something, on top of it. So that is a rule of the F1, official, rule book.
Yes.
Which I
Yes.
found astonishing. I mean, they called Perez, they have to help the guy. And I understand that the FIA, is an organization which tries to help, the more weak people and the people which have problems. I mean, Perez is a guy which cannot race as fast as the safety car. So we have to really look at ourselves and say we have to help that guy out, So that's why they called him. They asked him, I mean, what is your problem? Why did you did that 3 times, not 2 times? Like they said, it did 3 times, one on lap 10 and 2 times on lap 36. I say, what happened to you? What's wrong? I say, well, it's too dangerous. It's wet, and the safety car was so fast I couldn't keep it up. With your car, with the Red Bull, which is going to win the World Championship, that car. Oh yeah, it's really difficult. Okay, we believe you. Cool. And they talked to it. With Leclerc, fuck you, guy. I mean, you did it once. We're not even going to, listen to whatever you have to say. You brake. I mean, you were basically running slicks on wet. You got no advantage. Fuck you. We're going to give you 5 seconds. You got to fuck off. So that is the thing which I think it's kind of, weird.
Yeah,
they
I
did
agree.
it. Yeah. So that's all I have to say about the thing. The fact it's mind-boggling. But anyway, there you go. No, there was a funny conspiracy theories
Should we do that at a roundup?
Yes,
or do you want to do that right
later.
now?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
No,
great.
we'll do it later. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. I just want to bring in Lucky now. Lucky, you saw the race, presumably? Let me just do this. Are you there, Lucky?
I'm here. Hopefully you're
excellent. Welcome to the show. Thank you
Thanks
very
for having
much
me.
for being our special guest. And so what did you find about the race interesting, or anything maybe that? Oh dear.
Oh well,
Options.
I think Fabio's given himself a hernia there, lifting that rule book, the FIA Formula One rule book.
Indeed.
You know something. If you ever feel like it, not have enough time, go and check out the RAC MSA rule books and the FIA Sporting Conduct rule books. Jesus, it's just gibberish, half of it. It's quite amazing. However, let's get back to the race. I posted a link there.
I'm just about to share it. Yeah.
Awesome. The thing of interest in this, of course, is the picture of the guys at the start. Now, cast your mind back to last week's show when you showed us a picture of the spray at the start of that race that was delayed for an hour. Yet there's the guys just past the end of the pit lane, and how many of the 20-odd cars are actually visible in that shot? 8, maybe?
Right.
In fact, not even 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 20. So
Right.
it's 14 hidden. And of course, they're spread out 6 wide, at least 6 wide on the track. So you would expect to see at least 6 of those. So
In-
any
in-
car basically just behind you're going to not see.
yeah. So what was the why was this race so readily started? Whereas, as Fabio so eloquently put it, last week's race was just a bit moist. It doesn't make sense. What are they thinking? Who's actually running this show?
Listen, moist is dangerous. Wet, it's fine. Moist is the problem.
Oh, I
So,
see. Okay,
yeah.
it's moist.
Yeah.
Fair
And
enough.
it's actually in the rule book over there. There is a rule over there which says moist is bad, wet is okay. So I just put it over there. Yeah.
I really had when I watched the start, I thought turn one, Spa 1998, but worse. That's what I thought was going to happen, but they did a really good job. The only issue, Vettel said Alonso hit him. Who knows? But the pair of them touched, and there was only one casualty at the first corner. Saints went looking for a gravel trap again. Was it the second or third corner?
Yeah, it was the top of the S's. Yeah.
He obviously forgot that there's no gravel traps down there. So it was mad. What were they thinking? The last time I remember seeing a race with a start that looked like that was Fuji in '76.
Do you know, that's what went through my mind as well. Amazing. Yeah.
At the first corner, the only cars you could see were Hunt and who was behind him? Was it Mario Andretti?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember the exact that order that far back, but yeah.
That's what it put me in mind of, and I really thought there was going to be a big accident. But credit to them, they all got through, apart from the aforementioned Alonso and Sainz. But I mean,
Yeah.
Vettel.
Yeah.
Well, I think Vettel. I think deserves the Driver of the Day award. To be honest, he made the call as early as possible, and you went out there. And if you look at the results, the difference between him and Alonso at the line was 11 thousandths of a second.
Vettel made a fantastic call in changing the tires.
Yes,
He made an amazing call. And another driver which we haven't mentioned, and we have to, because we're giving shit to that guy for the whole year, and we said something good about it, the last episode, is Latifi. Latifi made a fantastic race.
Yeah.
So
He kept his nose clean, kept out of trouble,
Yes.
and kept a decent pace considering.
Yes.
Yeah,
He managed to get 2 points, outscoring his illustrious teammate Albon. Of course, who broke down in the first corner. Whether Albon would have outscored him, I don't know. But nonetheless, he finished the race in the points, and that's an amazing feat for the Williams.
Yeah.
Of course, he won't be with us next year. I think his driver's already been taken. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So
that stems the brakes.
That puts Latifi level in points with De Vries. Now,
what a burn! What a burn!
One race versus 18.
That's why.
Okay,
That's
so
why we can't have nice things, See, I mean, it's comments like that. We can't have nice things.
Yeah, there is that. There is that.
Things didn't last long though, did they? Till lap 3, the red flags came out, and I'm definitely going to agree with Fabio on the penalty Gasly got. It was a bit much, wasn't it? He wasn't going full blast as he was coming around. He was going fast, but he wasn't going full blast. And when he passed the tractor, the reds had only been on for 2 seconds, and he was slowing down apparently, according to the telemetry. So
it's a nonsense. It makes a nonsense of the whole system about the drivers being the most professional drivers in the world, the best drivers in the world. Look, what happens if he'd slowed down? And before then, if he'd gone, oh, hang on a minute, I don't have... No, all that happens is his tyres cool down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's more dangerous then. right?
And
So
and
Or if
he had to catch up with the safety car, so he had to.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean,
it's
he,
ridiculous.
he
It's
was doing what
ridiculous.
a racing driver is programmed to do, really. But I mean, let's say he'd suddenly hit the brakes because of the red flag, and lost it because he aquaplaned, and gone into the back of that tractor.
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
exactly.
it would be dead. That's simple.
Yes,
It would
yeah.
be it would be dead.
It,
And
That's not even a question.
why they're still using those tractors and they haven't put guards on between the wheels, etc., or around the wheels to stop the cars going underneath? No idea.
They can use fucking M1 tanks. I don't care. The problem is that there should not be cranes on the track while the cars
Agreed.
are running. That is
yes,
especially if
exactly.
it rains.
Exactly.
That should be a no-brainer. You know?
Absolutely,
So
completely agreed. Not arguing with that. Just saying why they haven't, put guards on to stop cars running underneath the tractors. Still, regardless of not being on track
right,
or being on track,
yeah,
I don't know because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what killed Bianchi is him actually going
yes,
underneath the tractor and that being exactly head height, right? So if he'd
yeah,
just hit a wheel or something, he would still be here, right? But he didn't, right? Because those cars are designed to go into barriers at ridiculous G forces.
right.
So, I mean, again, just something as simple as that, right? As cheap as that, just redesigning slightly or putting something to stop cars going underneath the tractor would have been enough, regardless. I mean, it's mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing
Um,
why they don't. The FIA has not dealt with this. Why haven't they dealt with this? Because they would have done under the days where they were going to circuits ahead of time, right, and inspecting the circuits and all of getting everything ready. Right, the FIA used to go there a week early to these circuits and sort things out. Why they're
right.
not doing it now? Because we got 23 or 22 races in a year, and there is no time for them to do this. They literally rock up with the teams, right? Now that never used to happen. They were always there a few days early, at least 4 to 5 days early, to check out the safety things, make sure the tracks were ready, make sure that there's no issues, right? With like the track deteriorating or the barriers not being ready or whatever else. Now it's
They
just left
used
to the circuits,
they,
and
They,
again,
they used to have a
what's
safety commission, with proper drivers. I remember Ivan Capelli was part of the safety commission, stuff like that. I don't know what the fuck happened to that, to that organization anymore, if it still exists, or I mean,
I would imagine it exists as part of the FIA because it's just jobs for cronies, but they just don't go there to the circuits ahead of time anymore. They
yeah.
they literally turn up with the rest of the circus. Right, so
No,
what?
but
Of course,
it's
what are they going to do? Like, it's the same thing that happened at Circuit of Americas a few years back, where
yeah,
they all turned up, right, and then went, "Oh, this track's too bumpy."
yeah.
Right,
No,
so
but
what did they do? Overnight, one night before the race, they sent something out to try and take
yeah.
up some of the tarmac and flatten it out.
No, but it's mental. I mean, the FAA should really take a page from what Dorna is making with the motorcycles. I mean, granted, that was, like up until, a couple of years ago before, the fucking Spaniards, just decided to own Dorna and all the thing. But still, there are two guys, Loris Capirossi, which, I really know the guy, and there is another ex rider. I can't remember the name. It's another Italian. I mean, those guys are the ones which takes all the fucking decisions on the tracks. If there is rain and stuff like that, they go out with the car, or if there is an oil spill, and until they say it's right, they don't even start the engines. They have to go back and say no, it's okay. So
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, and it's not that they have they're lacking ex drivers, to give them a job or stuff like that. I mean,
yeah,
Jenson Button is always there, making interviews. Fuck me, I mean, give the guy a role and put him in
yeah,
charge of security. I mean, he's a nice guy. He was a fast guy. He knows a couple of things or two. No, I mean, with all due respect, they put Derek fucking Warwick, which wasn't fast when he was driving the car, and now is one of the stewards.
And
Yeah.
and can't drive any of the new cars. Jensen is
Right.
still driving the new cars.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he had a 17-year-long career, Jensen Button. So he's clearly got the experience that Derek Warwick has, right?
and that is the first thing which popped in my mind, but I can make you many other, even again we talked about Jacques Villeneuve last time. He's an older guy, but it still seems to me that he's got brains. I mean, take fucking Pastor Maldonado for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Hulkenberg is there. Just give the guy a job, and let's do that.
Yeah. I think there were many crazy decisions, and it wasn't just that as well. It was over the whole weekend in terms of the practices as well, where a few things were done, and I just thought, no, this is amateur hour again. And
what happened?
admittedly, we haven't been at Suzuka for a few years now. 2018, the last time we were here, and so yes, I would expect it to be rusty. Even more important that the FIA turn up early, right, to get things organised.
We want Masi back.
No, we don't want Masi back, but we do want.
I want. I mean, if that's the best I can do, I want Masi back.
I think you might find that Masi will come back in some role at some point fairly soon. To be honest with you, I think there was probably take a year off and things will be forgotten, and we'll stick you back in. As
I don't think so.
PR consultant.
No, I don't think so. I think that guy is done with racing. Yeah, but we need Masi back. Anyway,
we do need someone to step up and take responsibility and be given the power, right? Masi was never given the power. That's one of the issues with Masi.
Yeah.
Right? He was given the power to make these local decisions in terms of safety car, etc., etc. He was the director of the race, etc., etc. But he wasn't given the thing to make ongoing changes to make his job the correct job, right? The role was written for him. He was fitting into a political framework. And this is, of course, the problem. We've got politics back at the heart of the FIA again. And, of course, as long as we've got politics back at the heart of the FIA, we're never going to get these decisions. And you're right, Fabio. The Perez-Leclerc incident just reeks of politics. Because there's no way that was a penalty given for taking advantage at a corner. He did take advantage at a corner, right? But it's never been given when the car is not at least alongside. Yeah. If the general rule is if the car's behind and you exit ahead still with the car behind still, there's no advantage taken. That's the general thing. One exception to that, of course, is which happened the other way, which was at Spa, where Hamilton, overtook outside the course, right? Then gave the position back, and then overtook into the next corner, and for that he was penalised.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
totally the opposite fucking way around. Okay. So I'm just saying politics, and the other thing I just want to moan about and rant about really bloody quickly is why they gave this decision, right? And I said it in the chat at the time. It's because it's Japan. Japan made the decision to give full points. Now you're saying it's in the rules. Yeah, it's in the rules, etc. I get that, but there's no way, given the bad press that they get, that should have been given. There's just no way. The race was not worth it, right? And especially with the controversial history under the conditions, there's no way that should have been given full points. Plus, it would have been better for the championship, right? And FIA in general, and the media in general, to have the championship decided in the US, not Japan. So I'm sorry. That was a political decision that should have been taken away from the hands of the local race director.
I thought about that, but I think it's. I see your point, but I honestly think it's it's kind of overthinking a bit too much. I don't think they went to that extent. That is my opinion. I don't think they got to that extent. I also think that it would have been, if you make it from a image point of view, it would have been way better for them to to give the championship in the US rather
Yeah,
than in Japan.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
FIA again, FIA again. Right, FIA are the ones making this decision because they're at the track. The race director is at the track, and it's a Japanese race director or stewards, etc., making these calls. Right, and they're going, yeah, oh, of course, we'll just give him full
yeah, I mean,
points.
I don't know. I mean, again,
Let's get it over with. Why? And another reason why the FAA want it done. Why? Because of this topic, which I'm going to bring up and segue into, which is a bit late in the podcast for it, but nonetheless, why? Because they know that the report is coming out today on overspend.
and
right?
the report came out today.
It's out.
And this
This year.
means that they don't have to take action on this particular issue because it's already been decided that he's world champion this year. No one gives a shit anymore about last year's result. Go ahead, Fabio. I'm going to shut the fuck up.
I'm not getting into this rant because I love when you rant about politics and Ferrari is not involved. Because I know you're reaching your liver while you say that, so I'm just enjoying it. I just shut up. Yeah, but so the budget cap report is out, and what has happened is that they found two teams guilty of something. Aston Martin and Red Bull. So Aston Martin has been found guilty of procedural breaches in the budget cap. And procedural breaches is something really minor, like, they didn't present, some papers at the proper time. It's procedural, so there's nothing substantial. The penalty is gonna be probably a fine for Aston Martin, and that's gonna be it. The other team which has been found guilty is Red Bull. Red Bull has been found out. Yeah, Williams says it's procedural breach because they didn't present all the papers in time, but they already paid the fine, so they're cool. That is why it's not in the report.
Yeah, absolutely.
Red Bull has been found out of what they call minor breach, which is less than 5% of the budget cap.
Mm-hmm.
Sanctions can be either a warning, a fine. They might have driver's point deductions, manufacturer's point deduction, suspension for one or more sessions, except the race, limitation in tests, or reduction of budget cap. So those are all options, and it depends on how much they did. They got to establish, what they're going to apply. But yeah, that actually happened. Red Bull issued a press release saying that we didn't know that we actually spent too much time. We thought we just in under actually the cost, and we gave away money to small children in Africa. So yeah, I will see what happens. So that was basically what happened, with Red Bull.
That 5% number, by the way, to put it in a monetary fund, is less than 7 million. So, I mean, that could be 6.5 million. It could be 5 million.
But again, I'm not complaining about that because that is part of the rules which were established before. So I'm fine with that. It's not a problem. There was an interesting tweet by a guy called Daniel Drury. He was an ex-senior system engineer for Red Bull from 2016 to February 2022. And basically said he's disappointed because he was one of the guys which been sacked in February because, budget cap limitation, they're going to sack some people. Say, they sacked me and some other colleagues, and now we've been made redundant, and they break the rules anyway. So that was quite, a bitter thing, and I understand the guy totally. So yeah, this is what we ended up happening.
Okay.
It remains to be seen. again, I can't really comply about the fact, we will have the details, of what happened and what
Yeah,
the
that's
fine
the
will
point worth
be.
making here. Sorry, Fabio, that's the point worth
Yeah.
making here. We still haven't found out what the penalties are,
Yes. Oh
have we?
no, of course. This is Singapore. It's not Japan, right? So
Yeah.
they're gonna talk like for fucking forever, and that's it. There was a fantastic conspiracy theory which I I read just after the race, which I would have loved. I wouldn't even got mad if that happened because it was so brilliant that I loved it. So the conspiracy theory was they gave the title to Red Bull in Japan because they knew that they breached the budget cap, and the penalty would have been they would have not raced the last 4 races. That was so brilliant that I really wanted that to happen because at least the FIA would have shown massive balls, saying to the guys, we can do whatever the fuck we want, deal with it. That's how we're gonna deal with it. That would have been fantastic. It's not going to happen, and I understand it would have been it's just my bad angle. You're muted, by the way, but you're right. Yeah. So yeah, that would be fantastic. It didn't happen. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Lucky, what do you think?
Is there any repercussions from that breach of last year's regulations to what will happen to Red Bull this year? Because if
No.
there's nothing apart from a budget cap reduction. That's the only thing they could.
No, the only repercussion on the next season might be test limitations or
Okay.
a reduction of the budget cap. And then, they might have some point deduction from the manufacturers, which means money, which is akin to issuing a fine. And the other thing which I think can happen for next season is some suspension for one or more sessions, except the race. But I don't see that really
Yeah,
a big thing.
The rules are pretty vague. It doesn't
No.
give any
No.
stipulated things. It just says that it's up to the discretion of the FIA. Basically, they can make up their mind as an if.
There is a committee, and so those sanctions are delivered according to the severity of what has happened. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's fair. To be totally honest with you, I think that's fair. So because 5% can be 1% or 5%. So depending how bad it was, you can scale the sanctions. So I'm fine with that. I'm super cool with that.
Okay, fair.
I can't seem to access the FIA's website at the moment.
I think it's I don't know how I was able to do that because it was really it's clogged right now.
Yeah.
While it's clogged down, I'll disagree with you both on Leclerc's penalty. As he was coming down to that chicane, I was screaming, "Park it in the middle of the fucking road so he doesn't know where you're going." He didn't do that. He didn't do what any Saturday night sim racer would do and park it in the middle of the road so he couldn't get past. But what he did coming out of the corner was he did what every Saturday night sim racer will do and try to force him out into the gravel. Now,
That's true.
he was desperate. He was desperate to keep his position. I would have probably done the same. I've done the same. So,
listen, what I'm just saying is this, okay? I think that again, the penalty makes sense. It was wrong because it was invoked a wrong rule, but overall it makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that last week they called a guy which made the penalty 3 times, and they asked him why that happened. If they called Leclerc, it would have had it it didn't even to make like a stupid excuse like I can't keep up with the safety car, right? I mean, it could have said, listen, you've seen the state of my tires. Yeah, poor puppy. I mean, I'm still feeling for parrots. I mean, he might have said, listen, you've seen what tires I was running on. You can see from the data that I didn't brake like 30 meters after the braking point as I did the previous lap. I would just went along. When I rejoined the track, I was at the same distance as parrots. And if you tell me that I was some obstacle or stuff like that, well, the track was more than moist. It was actually wet. And if it worked for parrots last Sunday, it should work for me too. So that would have been, who the fuck is gonna say anything about that, right? They didn't even call the guy. Like, 2 minutes to say, yeah, you're fucked. So yeah.
Yeah, again, it's got to be agreed that the actual gaining advantage off track rule that is not really that's a non-thing, right?
Yeah.
Certainly compared to other examples which haven't been given, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Now, what he could have been done for, right, is as you're correctly pointing out, is forcing another driver off track. Although technically, it's not forcing a driver off track. It would have been done for. It would have been not leaving a car's width.
Yes.
Okay.
Which he did, by the way, because it was barely a car width. I mean, parrots, was there. So,
I
and by the way,
was so surprised he didn't have a clue what to do. To be quite honest with you.
Yeah. No, it looked dangerous. There's no doubt about it.
If you wait long enough, the site will pop up. You got to wait a long time. So it popped up.
And make sure you pick the English version as well.
It is.
No, it doesn't matter to me because I'm a Ferrari fan. So,
right.
I speak perfect Italian now.
Yes.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Check me out. Here we go. Check me out. Enzo Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. That's enough said. Lewis Caparossi.
That's it.
Francis Rossi.
Francis Rossi, yeah. It's the Egypt cousin, yeah.
Perfect Italian.
That's perfect, yeah. I've got no issues with that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Anyway.
Pineapple pizza? Oh, no, sorry, I've gone too far.
Oh, yeah, shit, yeah. That's not Italian, see?
That's not Italian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
You just to say 3 teams Williams. You want to talk about Williams Lucky quickly?
Well, yes, I think Fabio already mentioned that they had a procedural breach as well, but it was an obvious, blatant thing that Williams immediately rectified and realized they'd done and paid 25 grand or something like that as a fine. So it was a non-deliberate breach of the regulations. Mm-hmm. I think everybody accepted that. So they ended up with sanctions.
I can read from the comedy side, which is the FIA, which says, Williams Racing has complied with the financial regulation in respect of the 2021 reporting period, with the exception of a previous procedural breach in regard to which the cost cap administration entered into an ABA with Williams in May 2022. This procedural breach was then remediated by Williams in a timely, cooperative, and transparent manner. So, Williams is off the hook.
Williams too far back in the grid doesn't make any difference. Even if you'd overspent by 20 million, it still wouldn't have done you any good. Yeah. Okay, getcha.
My goodness. A scathing attack on Williams there, I think.
It's my team. I'm allowed to. That's all
right. Yeah. You can do that.
My team.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. I think I'm disappointed. This is my takeaway. I'm disappointed at the way the Grand Prix was run. I think we all are. I think, the FIA need to sort themselves out. This is like the 3rd race in a row that people are saying, look, safety standards, look, FIA decisions. What the hell's going on? It's too inconsistent race to race again. And we had this how many years ago before they got Massey in, right? The race to race, there was just no consistency. And that is no way to run a sport. That's the way to run a political party, right? It's not a way to run a sport. And I'm just sick to death of it. I think with the controversy that happened last year over Verstappen's World Championship and the controversies that have happened this year over the politics within the sport, I think it's just completely damaging for his world titles. And I honestly see, if this carries on and Red Bull don't get or keep getting the shakedown of the FIA in terms of the decisions going their way regardless of president, then I just think we're gonna be heading into terrible grounds, and Audi are gonna pull out, or worse, worse than that, Volkswagen are gonna take their place.
Well, I mean, my main issue is that, I mean, you were talking about politics, and I understand why you say that. My gut feeling is that it's not even so. What I'm thinking is that the FIA is trying to please, teams. I am not really sure that the teams are pressing FIA as much as they're taking advantage of. So, so let me rephrase that. In the 7 years that that Mercedes was dominant, now apparently it's Red Bull. They obviously push the FIA in some way, shape, or form. But my gut feeling is that, especially the last 2 or 3 years, the FIA it's not so much as giving advantage to those teams because they're pressing politically. It's mostly because they fuck up and they don't want to make them mad, if you get what I mean. I mean, I remember when Ferrari was alive, right? I mean, there was a big contention about, I can't even remember what the fuck it was. And he just said, you know what? Yeah, I got no problems. He had a car built in a shed, right? He had an engine assembled, from various parts. And a week later, he presented the car and said, "This is the car I'm going to race in the Indy series next year. I'm going to say goodbye to F1. Fuck off." You know? And everybody just collapsed because, I mean, Ferrari's out of F1, F1 is done. So, I mean, that I see as kind of applying political pressure, if you get what I mean,
Well,
I mean,
the ultimate sanction. I mean, I think it's a lot more than that.
But now it seems to be, I mean, a little bit more of people tiptoeing on the fact that they don't want people to get mad without even the people asking them to get mad, or getting mad. That is something which is really crazy. And right now, I think that the only organization which should really, and I know that they are mad with the FIA, are not the teams. It's Liberty Media. It's the F1 organization. They are mental with FIA. The problem is that they can't do anything because all the sport organization is delivered to FIA, so they can't do anything. But I can tell you one thing: if there is one organization which is mad, it's not Mercedes, it's not Ferrari, it's not McLaren, whatever. It's Liberty Media and I can't remember the name of the Italian guy, which was in Lamborghini and Ferrari before. Eventually come up to me. But they are mental because they have invested a lot in the sport. They brought back together Claudio Domenicali.
Of course.
Yeah, they're fucking furious because, I mean, they just see Stefano Domenicali. Yeah, I said Claudio.
You did say Claudio, yeah.
Yeah, Claudio was my ex-boss in Ducati, and they got to say so. And I always make Stefano.
Okay,
Domenicali.
I thought you meant Stefan's girlfriend. Anyway.
No. Stefano Domenicali.
Okay.
No.
Okay, Stefan. Yeah. Okay, so.
I put
Go ahead.
I put a lot of the blame on Liberty Media as well, but I don't think it's a political problem. I think it's the corporate mentality problem. If you rename them Disney Media, you'd have the same sort of problems that are going on. You've got everything being done by committees. There's no single person to take a charge.
Yeah.
Remember, these guys are not motorsport guys. They didn't come up from early teams and then branch out into management or into technical side of F1. These guys are guys that came out of college and they know how to sell soap powder in a nice politically correct way that doesn't offend anybody. That I think is a bit of an issue, because that's the big change in the management. You had Bernie, who he wasn't a racer, but he started off.
He was actually.
Team was he?
Yes, he did do racing as well.
I'm surprised he used pedals.
You got to be careful with that, because I don't think that there is. I think it's totally true what you say. I mean, there are people in FIA which are coming from the sport. I mean, Ross Brown is part of FIA.
Oh no, I don't mean FIA. I'm talking about Liberty Media rather than
Liberty. He's saying Liberty.
Yeah, but the problem is that Liberty Media is now doing a better job than FIA is doing. That is the issue.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean,
my feeling is that they've promoted people into positions in the FIA, such as Ross Brawn, and he's struggling with the old guard. So to speak.
Yeah, no, that I'm with you.
That's my feeling.
No, that I'm with you, and that is the scary part. Because, again, and I don't want to, I mean, it's just a different opinion. You might be totally right in saying that it's all political. You might be right.
Yeah.
What I'm afraid of is that it's not political. It's actually something worse. It's stupidity. Because, again,
I mean,
I
think that's harsh to just label just because they're French stupidity, but
I mean,
you're not far wrong. Let me say
that would be actually a given, But again, because the problem is that I can understand political, okay? I can understand that, and I know what to expect from it. I honestly have no fucking idea what's going on, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So,
the FIA is in the same manner. Instead of having one person at the helm, or they're heading that corporate way as well. If you remember the Senna movie, they were talking about the year later what to do if somebody overran the chicane, and I can't remember one of the drivers said something, and Jean-Marie Balestre said the rule will be what I say is the rule. And they all shut up, and that was the deal. Whatever Jean-Marie said. Now, would you imagine Bin Sulayem doing that? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think that would happen.
No, it's a different age, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's just as political, in my opinion. That's the thing, and that's why I'm really disappointed again. But again, one thing I will say, I want to end the show on this, guys. I want to say something positive about the FIA, if I may, if you don't mind.
Please.
Okay, let me just get in the center of the screen. I'm going to say, in fact, let's just do this, just because.
Yes.
I want to say something positive about the FIA. There is one really redeeming feature about the system that they are using right at this moment, of course, and that is we're not talking about tyres and Pirelli. So there we go. There you go. That's the bonus.
I haven't raised the issues for many races because
and we could do especially at this Japan because of what Hamilton said, right? Hamilton said the problem is that wet tires are so shit compared to the intermediate tires that no one even wants to run them, regardless of how much water is on the track.
Yeah, right.
And that was the problem. There wouldn't have been so many crashes on the first lap if they'd been able to have a decent wet tire. So
that was also the problem why he couldn't overtake Ocon.
Yeah, and he couldn't get the traction. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And despite the fact he had more downforce, but anyway, there you go.
Right,
I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, let's finish up. That's my final rant.
Yes.
So yeah, Lucky, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I did regarding the safety, but as we're finishing, we'll give that.
No. Go ahead. This
Well,
is your moment. Take as long as you need.
I think it's time that the FIA stops relying on volunteer marshals who haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing to be manning F1 races. They need some sort of team that goes to every circuit and is responsible for the safety. As far as I'm aware, the decision to send that tractor out onto the track was made by the head marshal at that nearest marshal post. It didn't come from a race director or from anybody else. It was that one guy who said, right, there's a car, let's do it. We need to get rid of it. The red flags weren't out at that point. So if somebody of that competence is in charge of a marshal post, they need to stop relying on people who are just doing it because they love the sport, and get some people in who know what they're doing. I think that needs to happen.
Yeah. I don't think you're far wrong. And of course, this is exactly, I guess this is the point we made earlier, because there used to be a team from the FIA that went to each circuit a week ahead or 5 days or so before the Grand Prix, check the circuit for safety, check the circuit for marshals, make sure everything was proper and correct according to the FIA rule books, etc., etc. That doesn't happen anymore. Too many people, too many Grand Prix in a year, and not enough expenditure spent by the FIA, because they obviously rock up with the rest of the circus at the moment. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That never used to happen, right? Jackie Stewart, like, I don't know why he's not in the news going, what the fuck is going on? Because he always used to be there.
Yeah, but he's also raising a point about the stewards that we talked about it many times in previous years. You remember we had this discussion, even when Grosjean accident happened, but even before, that we said something on the line, take the guys that are the marshal in Monza, take some guys which are marshals in Silverstone, and take the guys which are marshals in Monaco, pay them, and send them on the track. Just one person for every point, you don't need to cover all the points. Just send one of those person from that team on every point in every track.
Yeah.
And, that will make a huge difference.
And they do that for new circuits as well, by the way, just to let you know. Right? They literally take people from Silverstone and the British Drivers Club, and they fly them out to whatever destination. They don't pay them. They just fly them out there.
And it would cost a lot less than the 7 million that Red Bull went over their budget last year.
Listen, there are 2 free tracks you can get people from. Silverstone, Monza, and Monaco. I think that the best ones, and you cover everything, because you cover fast track, you cover city tracks, medium to fast track. You're fucking gold. You can take people from Imola too. So you've got pretty much all the tracks that the shape of the tracks covered. You send one. How many is going to be? It's going to be what? 10 people every circuit. You send one to every checkpoint where the stewards are, and you make them responsible at that point. That's it. It's going to,
Again, we're talking politics again. We're going to get into, tracks don't want. These marshals that know the track, these marshals have been there, they do whatever, I don't know. Clearly something's going on in Japan, which is again, and I just want to say this as well, it's clear they haven't been instructed since the Bianchi issue, right? It's clear, because of course that is what the Bianchi issue, that is how tracks used to run. Right, you get rid of the object which is causing the obstruction as soon as possible, right? And that's how it used to be done. Right now, it's only in the modern era, and especially since Bianchi. Let's face it, 8 years is a long time for them not to learn this lesson. Yeah. And presumably they're doing this at all the other races as well.
But it's not only Japan. In Austria this year they couldn't fucking stop Sainz car from rolling down, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there was that
Yeah, yeah.
guy with with the fire extinguisher, and then they called the other guy. When Grosjean, had the accident, the guy which actually stepped in was the fucking doctor with the car, which
Yeah.
actually had to drive the car over there. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's not only Japan, to be totally fair.
Yeah,
It's
no, that's a
just
fair point. That's a fair point.
yeah. Anyway, cheers,
Okay,
guys.
hey, hang
See
on a
you in
minute.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yes, well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I do the end of the show.
Okay, you do that.
Look, please, I'm the one with the Formula One
Oh,
Can
okay.
boys.
I be allowed one last brief
Yeah,
comment?
please do, Lucky. Go
I'm,
ahead.
I'm going to have to jump to the defense of Derek Warwick. Anyone who chased Michael Schumacher the length of the pit lane at the Nürburgring and had him over a desk ready to hit him can't be all bad.
That's true. That's true. I'll go with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
Fabio,
should
any
have.
last words, please?
No, I think that
We covered it.
one of the bad things that Schumacher did was actually not punching the guy in the face. But
Well,
yeah.
one of the. I mean, I've got to tell the story again because I fucking love this story, right? Which is Ralph Schumacher's first words on global television are, "You're a fucking bloody shit," as he was trying to punch somebody out, another driver
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. So yeah.
Ralph Schumacher,
Cool to
what a
see.
fucking star!
Oh, by the way, sorry, I forgot to say one thing. Michael Schumacher ran one lap ahead of everybody, just by a smidge, but he was ahead of the race for one lap.
Ah, Mick Schumacher, you mean?
Mick Schumacher, yeah, sorry,
He-
Mick
he
Michael.
was the
Yeah,
header.
sorry
That's
about
right,
that.
absolutely, yeah.
Mick Schumacher, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's just that's how skillful this family are.
I was
I'm a little surprised because he doesn't show the steel that the brothers did, but
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised because maybe Michael wasn't such an attentive father as Jos Verstappen. Mainly because, of course, Michael Schumacher was a very successful Formula One race driver.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I was-
Jos Verstappen was shit. Yeah. That's it. You're right.
Okay, look, thank you very much, guys.
That's-
2 weeks' time, we're at the USA Circuit of Americas, a brilliant track apart from the bumps. And will they have done anything about the bumps this year? We don't
Oh, no.
know. Will we get the results of the overspend? We don't know. Okay, what weather conditions will we have? Dry weather conditions for a fucking change? We don't know. If we do have dry weather conditions, will Perez actually look like a Formula One race driver against Verstappen? We don't know.
We
All
don't
these
know.
questions and more, hopefully, will be answered in next week's episode of the
2
Formula
weeks
One
episode.
World Championships of Fabio and Funks, with special guests are Lucky Wolfen 7, and I'm just going to play you out now with this, which is the outro. So thank you very much, guys. We'll see everybody in 2 weeks' time.
Ciao, ciao.
See you guys.